Good morning, friends and family. Today we have a nice, beautiful, rainy day, which we absolutely desperately need, and that's good news for us. Um, but today I just want to kind of share today with you guys from the Psalms, and one of the things is that there's this picture or a meme or whatever you want to call it, post that occasionally will just pop up and on Facebook, and essentially what it says is that there's a day or a time or a place where you mostly don't realize it, but you as a kid, it's the last time you go outside and you go and play with your friends. And when you sit there and you think about it, you're like, oh my gosh, there was that last day. And you probably can't think about what that actual last day was, but that last day exists. And then eventually, you and your friend, you used to hang out every day, and then all of a sudden they're in a different class, and so maybe you don't see them as often. They're still there, but you just started to grow apart, and you get to junior high and you start getting into different groups, and then you get into high school, and then you get into completely different groups. You go away to college, and he goes to one end of the state and you go to the other end of the state, or you didn't even go to college and they did, and now all of a sudden you have three or four kids and they've got two or three kids, and you have no idea who their spouse is even. But every day you played with that kid. That kid's still there. You're still there. You're still in relationship with each other to an extent because you check on each other's Facebook, and you know these types of things, and you maybe even had a desire to reach out and just call said person and just say, hey, you know what? It's been 10 or 15 years, but hey, I would just like to see how things are. Or hey, maybe I'm just happen to be driving through your area and just maybe might want to stop and get a cup of coffee and just check in with you. Well, as I continue to keep learning and growing in my walk with Christ, I keep seeing an overwhelming theme of how the people, especially in the Old Testament, have a humanistic relationship with God. They have such a strong relationship with God, and as the Bible itself starts to move, and especially once the introduction of Christ happens, God becomes more and more distant. As we've started to understand God more, as we've developed as humans and we've gotten more scriptures we found and other things to be able to bounce things back and forth off, God has seemed a little bit more and more distant to us. When we read the 83rd Psalm, verses 1 through 4, listen to how close God seems to them. O God, do not remain silent. Do not turn a deaf ear. Do not stand aloof, O God. See your enemies growl, how your foes rear their heads. With cunning they conspire against your people. They plot against those you cherish. Come, they say, let us destroy them as a nation, so that Israel's name is remembered no more. See, when we look at that, we look at the deaf ear of God. We put this humanistic, God may not have ears. We don't know. But to them, God can turn their back to them. And that's how they feel the relationship has taken place, that God has turned away from them. And we know that God never does that. That is not the God that we know. The God that we know is always with us, always for us, always guiding us, always loving us, always nurturing us, protecting us, providing for us. We would have never made a statement, "Oh God, do not remain silent. Do not turn a deaf ear or stand aloof, oh God." We know that we're the ones that aren't being silent enough to hear God speak into our life. We know that we are the ones that have turned a deaf ear to God. We are the ones that have stood aloof to God. It's just like that friend that we just slowly start to drift away from. That friend still down the street. That friend still a Facebook message away. But we have turned silent to that friend. We have turned that deaf ear to God. God does not do that to us. We do that to God. May this week be a time of prayer and focus on a relationship with God, and may that be a time to rekindle that relationship so there isn't a picture of the last time you hung out with God. May that last time be every day, and may it never be a last time. Amen.